Blessings, family. Sister Ajali. In doing this reporting as a black person who we're just supposed to cooperate with oppression, we're not allowed to notice the details. And we surely are not allowed to notice the details on behalf of freeing not just ourselves, but everybody, because the lies permit the horrifying just treatment of every party everywhere. Now, I've been paying crazy attention to what's going on in China because I do believe it has been thoroughly orchestrated. China is falling to pieces in so many ways that I don't have time to expose because they're not our people. Therefore, they're not my people. But at the same time, when they just go too far, I have to talk about it. Such as the share that's gone now. I have it, but YouTube took it down. Where I just went over how China was putting live babies, reptiles, fish, frogs into little plastic airtight bags so the water wouldn't leak out and people could use it as keychains. So you probably figured out the ending of that story. The little baby animals would all die from lack of oxygen and food. That screams persons who have a real hard time feeling empathy. And again, let me repeat, I don't mean the Chinese any specific ill. In analyzing these next three photos, I'm going to do so kindly because nobody's perfect. No nation is perfect. What's going on in China right now? Whoa, it's drastically awful. But at the same time, I hope the common Chinese people can wrestle themselves from out underneath the Communist Party, but I'll say a little bit more about their historical propensity by analyzing these next photos. I can't show the video because my channels that were, and this one will be too because I ain't changing, are hounded. Now, here you see this is a grown man, if you could see my cursor going around him, kicking a little boy in the back. It was horrible. But the story is that this little boy bullied his daughter. I didn't see the video on that, so I don't know. I know this is wrong no matter what that little boy did. All right? You do not go up and cause physical harm to a child when you're a grown freaking man. And when he kicked them like this, boy went flying across the floor. Now, standing next to him and behind the man is a little girl, and they were both dancing to this video game that's set up in the mall, and they were enjoying themselves. They didn't necessarily look like they were together or apart. However, humanity is measured in your ability to feel, to commiserate with the things that happen to those who, they're human. They're human. For me, the response is immediate. It's only because the devil people are so awful, that they've lost my sympathy whatsoever. I know when I'm looking at them, I'm looking at a predator mimic. And any feelings I have to make them subservient to the historical documentation and the current destruction of our planet using man-made radiation. When I understand all of that, then I'm just like, no, sorry. And everything that they do to us, it is hazardous for me to give in to my wish to just be kind and warm and open to everyone, okay? I could be polite. I can be civil. I can hope the best for everyone, but I don't expect the best from them. And so what I find very sad is after he kicked the boy, the little girl, she looked for a second, but her response was so automatic, it was actually chilling. Right now, I know in China right now, they've got everybody terrified. And so I would imagine this little girl is also terrified. She doesn't know exactly what to do. But it's just not natural. Her response should be her mother is probably somewhere along this balcony edge, and you would think she would run and to her mother. But she instead just chooses to ignore the little boy who you could, I mean, he kicked them all the way from over here to over here. That just was sad. And she keeps staring at the video, and then she begins to dance again. That's trauma, but historically, because I've just been studying China, I don't know why. I just am like, I studied Japan, like now I'm studying China because I think China is going to be a jump off of how they're going to take all the nations down, so that in the middle of them using man made radiation to eradicate the overwhelming majority of us, they're going to then be able to hide the source of that eradication. That's why they're talking about nuclear this, nuclear that. We're going to drop a bomb and all the rest, but they're never talking about Fukushima. Right? They're never talking about any of that. And they had to get rid of my channels because it was a documentation of the trajectory of all the death. Okay? So there is just a definitive apathy and psychopathia almost, where the Asian person can be very fixated on what's good for them personally and then not see what's happening to all their brethren all around them. And this is something that right now people want to just blame the Communist Party for everything. But when I study the history, and I've also been looking into that deeply, this is something that's gone on throughout their generations, all the way back to the first dynasty. So what you're looking at are pills that are supposed to be supplemental, beneficial for health, and they are composed of desiccated human fetuses acquired either through miscarriage or abortion. I wonder if some of our babies aren't part of that, but I imagine that, and that's more than possible. I'm not accusing them of that directly because that would be a strange transport. I know Planned Parenthood, they make a huge living off of selling the aborted fetuses, and they've gotten Planned Parenthood executives on tape admitting to that. But I don't know if they're also exporting the fetuses to China. I wouldn't put it past them. So that's just bad enough. However, this is a protected trade. They make a grand complaint about it publicly. Oh, we've got to stop this. But it's very lucrative. In China, you can sell these things for 70 cents a pill, but the most money is made over in South Korea, where they ship them to, and they make $30 a pill for them. And I understand when you open up the capsules, inside it smells like death and rot. Yet they have this whole idea that it's somehow beneficial. Traditions in a society can make the individual prefer to overlook what's right in their faces as a contradiction in humanity, where I know that these persons who are taking these pills are getting a placebo effect, maybe, but the person selling the pills, because it's so profitable, they're willing to just say, oh, you're going to feel, it cured my son of all his conditions and my skin's clear and all the rest of it. And it actually doesn't work at all. It reminds me of adrenochrome and also the blood buddies that they're trying to peddle, where rich people think they'll be able to secure their youth by getting transfusions of blood from people who are younger and healthier. And I just think that's like a big joke on rich white people to other rich white people, because especially with the adrenochrome, you're getting, if it's true, I don't know. I don't know if that's real or not, but I've seen evidence that it probably is. However, if you're killing a child that's terrified, you're getting the most caustic hormone into your own body, adrenaline. Adrenaline is a friggin' megaphone inside the body that subverts all the human pathways to addressing an ailment, addressing a problem, because it doesn't want your body to respond to thought. That would be too slow. It wants you to just have an impulsive reflex of flight or fight. That is a stress hormone. Stress is the number one cause of all debilitations. And if you happen to have a debilitation, if you're stressed out about it, you're going to clock out a whole lot more, certainly. So this idea that for the Chinese that this is going to help heal them goes against reality. And I'm not surprised, because over the past 2 years, I'm sure all of us have learned things about the Asians, that their reputation of being the smartest people on the earth has absolutely not been able to outshout any more than the adrenaline can give you health and vitality. Like, you'll have people who will be taste testing wines. I do not enjoy the taste of alcohol at all. Never got it. And I think that that's part of that is a tradition. And so you just, after a while, you keep forcing yourself to drink the stuff until maybe it starts to taste nice. But I don't know. I don't think so. That's me. But there have been studies where people will be testing a wine to find out, later on, after they were going over the bouquet of it, to find out that it was Boone's Farm and it wasn't some expensive brand or year or whatever, because they were just part of that whole just, I want to do what's popular, and everybody else seems to be acting like this is such amazing stuff. Let me do it too. So right here in this photo is, gratefully they blurred it out, but this is supposed to be the fetuses as they're drying out, and then they just will crush them up, powderize them, put them in the capsules, and with that profit margin, I don't think, look at how much of this stuff is there. I mean, this is disgusting, but gratefully it doesn't look like babies. But at the same time, how can you ever forget that it's a baby? How can you forget that? That is like we've been talked into a level of psychopathy ourselves, where we think that abortions, oh, it's just a fetus. It doesn't have a real, life. No, it's got a heartbeat at, like, I don't know how many days or how many weeks for it does. And it's it's legal to kill them, right? So it's just, we're not the worst people on the planet. And this whole idea that we have to be perfect before we have a right to sovereignty, that is where we have to put the brakes on the lunacy. Because if anybody said to China over them doing this, that you don't have a right to exist, oh, China would be like, oh, no, you don't. No, you don't. Right? They would suddenly, everybody in China who's fighting against the CCP, and a whole bunches are with all of the pandemic stuff that's going on. That's insane. Right? They would just say, no, you can't do that. And they would be like, whoa, I'm for the CCP, okay? So, they got different ways of, some people like the newfangled plastic pills, capsules. Other ones like the old Chinese Ayurvedic medicine ways, where they just mix it with all sorts of different things. I understand it's so nasty, that they have to add different herbs in order to make it a little bit more palatable. I don't think people will be chewing on this, but maybe they do, you know? So, just overall, like the organ harvesting of the Falun Gong members who they're in China. If you have some sort of ailment and you need a new organ, you shouldn't, because you should be eating healthy enough. But Asian diets with that white rice, ooh, they kill it with that white rice, which has been found to be just as toxic to the body as candy, right? So their bodies will break down. And then in China, if you need a new organ, you could get it in like a day. You could get it in a couple hours because they will just find somebody living, kill them and take their organs. And they usually will pick Falun Gong members. And this is a huge problem in China. And they'll fight this more than they'll fight against the, desiccated fetuses. So don't you believe it? Don't you believe that we are not as mighty a people as any others walking this earth? Don't believe the propaganda. Brother True Seeker 24 said it, and I so agree. Black people, we're getting married, we're falling in love with each other, we're having beautiful babies with our families, we're doing the right thing. It's their propaganda. How many people wind up being famous? What, about 0.001% of people? And they're using right now all that 0.001% of black us are either homosexual or in an interracial relationship altogether. That's not who we are. That's who they are selectively using to make us believe the worst about ourselves. And with all these, crimes going on in New York City, certain select places they're picking to have all these crimes committed by black people, always on camera, right? That's also a bunch of actors, because the actors just don't show up at a Hollywood studio anymore. They show up outside, like with Will Smith. I knew he was going to get another contract to do another movie. Emancipation? Really? That's not freedom. That's when your parents say, all right, you can stay out till 10, right? Yeah, I'll emancipate you till 10. Then you better get your behind back in here. I'm going to beat your tail, okay? So don't believe the hype. We're beautiful people. Support those who write works of art that acknowledge that document that just, wow. This black, beautiful story. This one right here, finished all the edits, get it off of Amazon. We'll have it on our website, 25,000 Year Cycle, in the ebook shortly with the full edits. Extraordinary. I love this story. I love this story. I got to read it again and again and again myself. All right. And this right here, you're going to get them cures. You aren't going to find this book being produced by any other people on the planet to the depth and the detail that I put in there, so you can withstand what Western civilization is wrecking on our entire planet with man-made radiation. Okay? We are the mightiest people on the planet, and we don't need no daggone nuclear weapons. Stop with all that nonsense they're putting out there so they can hide what I've put out enough that there's a lot of people out there asking questions about different things, and they want to make it seem like, oh no, you need a nuclear bomb to poison the world. No, Oppenheimer knew. That's why he said, when you drop the bomb, keep dropping it up higher and higher in the sky, because otherwise the blast from the bomb will get in the way of the radiation, and that's the real killer. With Fukushima, they didn't worry about any daggone bombs. And it hasn't stopped, not one single day. Get this, so you never have to stop your subsequent generations. Ooh, straight black family pride, and we are good forever. Peace and blessings, family. I love you.